to get complete outright control. Florida battling for NCAA tournament position, 18-8 on the season, and a strong road team at 9-2. Kentucky will start off serve to get this one underway from Rupp. Tuzo sends it across, back right side, and quickly out of the gates, it's Kennedy Martin.
Starting strong with a beautiful line shot. Kentucky gave it to her, and she took it with advantage of it. I'm expecting to see a lot of that from her today.
What makes her special?
I think she's just so fearless. And as an outside, a right side, that's what you kind of want for them. You want them to go up and swing at every ball. They're going to get a lot of junk balls, and so confidence can be kind of wavelengths with them. But seeing her how fearless she is as a freshman is really exciting to see.
Kentucky through the front row. Bevan leads it off to Rutherford, who will finish the deal. And a nice opening start to senior day from Miss Rutherford.
Yeah, she's a lefty if you can't see, which is a really interesting thing for defenses trying to figure out how to line up against her. Most hitters for volleyball are right-handed, and so getting a left-handed hitter that you might not see very often makes the defense really difficult.
Rutherford third in kills on Kentucky this season. Blocked at the line, that's Getzinger. Free ball over here for Kentucky. Bevan the dish. Another nice denial there from Florida. Jousting at the net, and it will go in favor of the Cats.
Really nice block by Kentucky on that. Had nice solid hands. When you see a ball that gets tight, sometimes you get a little too excited, try to do too much, but keeping firm hands, forcing her to hit into your hands and going straight down to the floor.
And certainly some nerves besides this game. Not only the chance to clinch out the SEC championship, but as we've talked here, senior day for five of these Cats, is Bevan once again. She'll deal from the middle. Tossed over left side. There's Victoria on the swing and the finish, but there's a lot of nerves coming into this game because you know if you're Rajani Taylor, Getzinger, one of these five seniors, it's the last time you'll get to play here.
Yeah, going into a regular season against a team that notoriously is a very back and forth, very fiery game, so definitely have to make sure you don't let senior day get in the way of how you're playing. Adams, for Florida, puts it across. Bevan, the mid side, and there's Rutherford denied. And once again, Sophia Victoria climbing the ladder on the denial. There's that Florida block, and I mean, beautiful setup by them. They were right in front of her left shoulder, and were also hip to hip, so didn't leave much court for her to find. And I know she's got a lot of motivation coming into this game. She did not play well against Kentucky in that first outing on November the 5th. So certainly looking to change things here today and off to a strong start with a kill and a block. And Rutherford, though, finds it the second time around for her second kill here early on in set one. Really, really smart shot off of the touch of the block. She's going to need to do a lot of that with Florida having such a big block. You see the series history, Florida leading the all-time series history 54-22, but the big note, Kentucky winning 8 of the last 10. And when I talked to Craig Skinner earlier this week, he even made it very clear. He goes, when I got to Kentucky 19 years ago, he goes, Mary Wise and Florida, that was the blueprint for our program as a violation against Kentucky, going Florida. He made it super clear, this is who we want to copy, this is who we want to mirror ourselves after, and he's certainly done a fantastic job in that department. Yeah, those first couple of years when Kentucky was contending for SEC championships, it was definitely, it ran through Florida. That Florida game was the game you had circled that you have to win that game if you want to even get a shot at the SEC championship. Yeah, 7 potential SEC championships for Kentucky today if they close out a victory with this match. Florida, though, with a couple back-to-back points. But just to put it in perspective, 7 straight SEC championships, incredible for Kentucky, but Mary Wise is sitting on 25 herself. So that's a strong number. That's a very big number. Now Martin will go back to serve. A little run here for the Gators early on, 5-3 advantage. Bevan tries to find Getzinger on the roll, and that is what she does so well off the slide. Yeah, we'll see a lot of that. It's become almost automatic, that connection between Emma Grome and Elise Getzinger with that slide. I mean, she runs it at such an efficient clip, better than almost anybody in the country. Getzinger, as we mentioned here, on senior day, a powerful season she's brought in for the Cats thus far. Second at kills, always consistent for Kentucky from day one as a freshman, all the way to her last game here as a senior. There's Victoria over the top. Nice recovery underneath. That was Whitworth. A little long, but was it touched? They say no. Point to the Gators. Excellent return there for Audrey Whitworth going to the floor. And I think Craig Skinner wants to go with his first challenge. It took him a long time. You know, it's only .4. He's had enough already.
He's like, did they actually touch it, or do you just not want to get the error?
He's trying to get points.
And I was like, listen, it's a 50-50 thing, but It's a hard one, especially when you got to be honest. You got to be really, really honest, especially if you're the one to touch it. You got to go back and be like, hey, coach, I touched that one. Like, don't challenge that.
And the point does end up going to Kentucky, so that switches the score from 6-4 to now evened up at 5 apiece. So first challenge goes the way of Kentucky, and certainly the big aspect of that is you get to keep your challenge down the road. Certainly when you get into a game like this, those little things add up. Delay from the back row. There's Lamb on the touch. And net violation going against Florida here. Now Kentucky with the lead.
It's a really smart shot by Erin Lamb. She's done a really great job the last couple of games. She got put back in the starting lineup after kind of sitting out for a little bit, and definitely you can see how much her game's improved since she was starting in the beginning of the season to now when she's back in that rotation.
That's Brooklyn Delay on serve for Kentucky. Up to the front row, toss side to Victoria. Drome, backside, Getzinger denied, and who else? Sophia Victoria, 2 big blocks in the kill just in the first 6 Gator points.
She's doing a great job, and you can't really see it on the camera, of following the ball, getting her, and following the block and eye. Sometimes with blocking, you kind of just watch the hitter and hope that you're in the right spot, but she's doing a great job of following the ball, lining up perfectly in front of her hitter.
She's got a dig to go along with those 2 blocks as well. Left side, Lamb puts a little too much heat behind it and it goes out of play. Florida back on top. Certainly strategy a major element in this game. You know, you're always, as you think, Leah, for being a player, you're always trying to think 2 or 3 steps ahead. I hit it long last time, don't want to lay it off short. You're always trying to play a game with inside of a game.
Yeah, definitely when you have such big blocks on both sides of the net, you're definitely hoping to kind of get around that but not think too much.
And somebody that's good that's playing the game inside the game, that would be Emma Grome. She is always 2 steps ahead of her opponent.
Yeah, we talked to Craig Skinner a couple of weeks ago before our coach's call talking about how good she's gotten at deception, that even he is struggling to figure out where she's setting the ball now. And he's been coaching for God knows how many years, so if he can't know where she's going, I guarantee the people on the court don't as well.
And that is an overpass that is slammed home by Erin Lamb, making up for the long ball out of bounds there with the easy score. Kentucky now regaining the lead.
Those are always the fun ones.
Well, you know you're going to score ahead of time. It's just like you're waiting for it to be served up on the silver platter. All you got to do is just finish it off, and she does. Getzinger to serve for the Cats. Through the middle, there's Martin, and man, there's a lot of power behind that punch.
Yeah, just really, really good at moving the ball, understanding where people were on the defense, and the middle was in the right back, and sometimes people tend to hit towards the middle, thinking defensively they're not the best on the court, but all around, just really great, smart shot by her.
As we talked about, she's just a freshman, and you talk about the DNA that she's got. We'll talk about later. Certainly a successful family in athletics. Bevan digs it up to Grome. Shot from Lamb. Kentucky favoring her on the left side early on here in the match. Delay keeps it in play. Looked over Lamb, tips it out to the left. Is it touched? It says it is, and point to Kentucky. And I think Mary Wise might be looking at her challenge card as well.
Really, really smart shot. Like I said, Florida has a huge block, and as a hitter, you don't want to think too much, but using their hands is definitely the way to go. You get about 40 more feet of court going off those hands. You never know where the ball's going after.
It looked like Coach Wise talked to her team over there, and they kind of gave her the signal like, yeah, it's touched, and she took a seat back down. Once again, trusting the players, as we just spoke about. There's Rutherford on a rocket shot.
Woo. That's one of those where you just got to kind of sit and just be like, well, that was a great swing, and that's a deception of Emma Grome that we're talking about. You could definitely see how Florida's blocks were already pulled in, thinking that she's going in front of her, and just left that right side of the court wide open.
How about the hang time going from left to right there, too? It was going outside the antenna, and she's able to keep her balance for the score. Speaking of antenna, that bounces off the top, and point will stay to Kentucky. Now the Cats on a little bit of a roll with their largest lead of 3, and a timeout for the Gators. Skinner mentioned on our call earlier this week, he mimicked a lot of what Mary Wise did in developing her Florida program to what he brought into Kentucky, and certainly from a recruiting standpoint, they're both knocking it out of the park every year as well. So that success should continue.
Definitely the best of the best in the SEC is on the court right now.
Who is, Leo, let's go back for a second and see Kennedy Martin score out of the break. Who was on your list besides Kentucky recruiting-wise? What was your Final Four before you picked Kentucky?
Ooh, it was at Kentucky and Arizona, actually.
That is right,
were
yes.
my top 2.
And that was family connection, right?
It was.
Coaching there, right?
Yes, we were at Arizona for football, and I grew up watching that program. They're the reason I started playing volleyball, and so it was definitely between the 2 hometowns, but this one won outright.
I was say the nicer weather or hometown? You got to make the decision there as the air goes into the net. First service error we've seen today for Florida. 12-10 Kentucky advantage. And the Cats so far playing solid volleyball, not too many errors on either side. As we talked about earlier, Libero U, Molly Tuzo back to serve for the Cats. Tremendous season she's had for Kentucky. A little toss over left side there, just whacked away. And it's going to lead to a violation. Kennedy Muff, usually super strong on her passing there. It just looked like she was in the wrong spot.
Yeah, just a little tight. And tried to save that one, but those are the awkward ones.
Muff's been tremendous. 4-year captain for the Gators, along with 4 different members in her family, including 3 cousins playing college volleyball. So the DNA is there. And Kentucky returning the block service towards the Gators. Nice job there on the climb from Rutherford and Teeler.
Yeah, really, really solid block by them. They've done a great job of almost being hip to hip every single time they're blocking, and Johnny Teeler does a great job of closing all the way to the hip of Reagan Rutherford.
How much of that is just footwork?
It's a lot, and it's a lot of reading and watching too. So making good reads as a middle, making sure that when she does, and Johnny Teeler's really good at it, reading the offense really, really well and making the correct decision, which makes her such an elite middle.
Because you got to be hip by hip. You can't have any gap there, especially when you're trying to create the double team block. As we get the second look here, that's Kennedy Martin, of course, in on the play. She's around every ball so far. Okamura as well on the stop there for Florida. She picks up her second block. And you see early on here, Florida, that's where they make their bread and butter. 4 blocks in their first 11 points. Another one to the list. Bevan's able to keep it alive. Rutherford finds it to the right. Martin spins it inside. Rome, the dish. Rutherford leads into it and follows through. A great setup there for Rome to Rutherford.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that swing is Reagan Rutherford's almost moving inside out. So she was inside the court and then kind of floated out and hit that ball cross court. Really interesting defensive-wise, because in that sense, it's really hard for a lefty to hit that cross court, but she found a way.
And it makes it 10 times more difficult because you don't know if she's going in or out, where the ball's going to follow there. You see another score for the Gators in return. And once again, Kennedy Martin on top of every play. Just to give you guys a stat breakdown early on, she's already got 5 kills on 8 attacks. She's hitting .625 with the block. And remind you, she is a freshman, so she's going to be around for a while. That's not good news for the rest of the SEC.
It's going to be really embarrassing to watch her grow as a player.
Rutherford, another power ball there off the right side. Reagan Rutherford starting off white hot on senior day.
And that's that lefty I'm talking about. It's really, really hard to set up a defense. You see in this, Florida left her a little bit too much of a hole, and even though they made the close at the last moment, it was a little too much, but defense is definitely difficult with a lefty hitter.
Skips over the net from Whitworth, up to the front. Martin wants it. Bevan tries to keep it alive. The pancake is not able to be flipped, and that'll be Whitworth on the effort with no score. Martin now back on service, and look at her stats. I mean, she's blowing out even Florida standards of success.
Yeah, she's had a fantastic freshman year. Like we said, she's only a freshman, so can't imagine what she's going to be like her next 3 years.
Victoria steps into it. Rome dishes, gets Singer, and violation on the Cats. It's going to be Florida on the score, and they bring it back within 2.
Called a double on that one. We call that's referee discretion. That is a play that you cannot challenge, can't really do anything about because that's the ref's opinion of how the ball looked.
And you can see Craig Skinner is just thrilled with that. The dismay of not being able to challenge. He knows he can't challenge it as Getzinger follows through, but he's still going to argue that he should.
Oh, yeah, he definitely wants to know the understanding behind that. The hard thing is the down ref really doesn't know why the ref called that either. It's kind of, again, the ref's discretion.
Actually, start as well. We've been focused on Rutherford. She's leading the way with 5 kills, but you've also got 2 for Getzinger and 3 for Lamb, so nice early start from the veterans as DeLay plays it across. We'll speak about her in a second, a strong year she's had for the Cats. Brome to DeLay.
really great run from the back row. We haven't seen that yet today, but Florida only put one blocker up, which gave her basically anywhere she wanted to hit on the court. So that's the efficiency you want to see. And I mean, going into tournament time, that's exactly where you want her, having that much efficiency, which is, I think, is a big thing as a freshman. You think they're more prone to make errors because they're a little bit nervous, doing things that they've never done before, but she's playing really well.
I think that graphic certainly supports the theory that Craig Skinner has lived by since he's been a coach here at Kentucky, and even before, as Florida scores out of the timeout. Schedule hard in non-conference, build up that callus, and then once you get to SEC play, you're prepared. And year after year, he's looking at a 7th straight SEC championship. That philosophy is paying off pretty well.
Yeah, definitely, and it helps with the RPI as well, because right now they have a #1 strength of schedule in the country. So clearly that non-conference, even though record-wise didn't go the way that Kentucky wanted, definitely helped them in the end.
Lamb. That one bounces off the net. Nice recovery there from the Gators, able to scoop it up and keep it in play. Lamb on the second swing, able to blow it by for the score on Victoria. She tried to dig it out. It's 19-15 Kentucky early on, and we look again, another Kentucky player that's having a really strong late season stretch here, and Aaron Lamb hitting .415 in her last 4 matches, peaking at the right time. Almost an ace, and turns into a score for Kentucky. And a large lead now of 5, their biggest of the game. And most importantly to note, no more timeouts for Florida in this set. Getzinger still on service. In the front row, Muff dishes it. Grome. Teeler over the top of the head of Essex. Looks like just a simple miss. That was an odd situation there. It looks like it'd be an easy return for her.
And that's not something, she does not run that slide very often. Most of the time she goes all the way out and runs more of an outside approach, but definitely look at this. That was a little weird, but she made it work.
I'm surprised. Essex had her hands down. I think she was expected to dig low, and it ends up going over the top. Denied off the side. That's Fitzpatrick on the swing. Now it's Kennedy Martin. She skips it through for the score. And that'll be kill number 7. And, you know, you look at Kentucky, a very balanced scoring attack thus far. You got Rutherford with 5 kills, Lamb with 4, DeLay with 3, even Getzinger's got 2. They're making no bones about it. They're playing the game through on Florida's side, Kennedy Martin, 7 kills.
Definitely, but I mean, it's working for her. She has 7 kills with no errors. Kentucky's giving her a little bit more leeway back row, so if Florida wants to get back in this game, I think that's how you use her.
And a nice denial there. AC Fitzpatrick with the rejection, and Florida keeps racking up the blocks. That's their 5th in the set, doubling up even their standards of success. And still a few more points to go here in the early frame. Lamb, nicely placed ball, going from right to left across the court, shot for the score, and she's having a really strong opening first set now with 5 kills.
And she really loves that really sharp swing. That's probably one of her bread and butter. She hits that swing all the time. Does it with a really high clip. It's a really sharp angle, not very easy. Kind of really have to twist your arm away from your body, but that's her favorite one.
Essex on the roll. There's Okamara, who gets the ball taken right back to her on the block through the middle and score for the Cats. Now 23-17. Nice slide there for Okamara, but couldn't get back in time through the middle for the rejection, and able to be finished off for Teeler on the Kentucky point. Grome on service. A little tip over from Kennedy Martin. Rutherford living on the right block and living with a hot first set. Make it kill number 6 and set point for Kentucky.
That same swing we saw earlier, she's working in the out, and then she's hitting away from her body as well, which is definitely not normal. So definitely catching Florida off balance a little bit, because when you're in that type of situation as a lefty, your tendency is usually to go down the line, but she's still trying to force that ball cross court.
Maddie Grabley stepping in here for the final point, subbing out for AC Fitzpatrick. Florida goes middle with Martin. Tries to direct it there to the left corner. And that was way too easy. Tough spot for Teeler in the middle, and just rejected away from Okamara.
Yeah, that's one of those balls that you got to go high over, because Florida is way too big of a block and try to seek it right over the tape.
Still on set point for the Cats. Lamb Up high. Martin, double team block and denied. Taylor and Lamb top it off for the Cats as they take set one, 25-18. 1-0 Kentucky. Think about when you're in the non-conference, like, oh, I could have made this easier. You know, this has been a lot simpler. And he goes, no, I'm not really worried about wins and losses in the non-conference because they started off 1-3, and I think per usual, you know, a lot of people are freaking out, like, how's the season going to go? But he goes, I'm not really worried about non-conference. He goes, we spend all year getting ready for the SEC and eventually the NCAA tournament. He goes, whatever happens in non-conference, we're not too worried about it. He goes, we're just trying to get better and make ourselves in a stronger position for the end of the season because at the end of the day, they're hanging SEC banners, they're hanging national championship banners, they're not hanging non-conference banners. Yeah,
definitely. Being undefeated in non-conference can be a double-edged sword. You're excited that you're winning that many games, but that also can kind of mean that you aren't playing that good of teams as well, depending on how your schedule looks. So definitely, I think most coaches want the wins, but if it means that you go on a 15-game winning streak and you're top 10 in the nation at the end of the season, I think they definitely prefer that instead.
Bevan swings it out of play there, and I think one thing that certainly plays a big factor in it is your status in a program. You know, Craig Skinner certainly, obviously, you know, he's going to be the coach here as long as he wants to. He's won a national championship, 7 straight SEC wins, or conference championships, I should say. And it's a simpler situation for him where people can trust his process as Kentucky finds their second point there, where if you're a new coach coming into a program, Leah, you've been around this before, people, they want to have wins right away. They don't want to wait till year 2. They expect, hey, why aren't we winning from day 1? That's a tough spot to be in as a coach.
Yeah, definitely. You want to switch as soon as you get a new coach, and sometimes that's not as easy as you think it is.
Yeah, you might want to start that first year or 2 off. Let's get a couple wins. You know, let's stack the schedule a little bit in our favor. As the second error for Kentucky coming out here in set 2 on service. First one from Bevan, that one from Whitworth. And knotted up in 2 apiece. Rare errors here for the Cats. Puts Florida on service. It's going to be Trini Adams back to swing it across. One dig in the first set for her. And a tough start here. Way too much touch on that one. Goes in the net. Right now we're just trading errors here to open up set 2. Delay back on service. Both teams hitting, as you saw, identical there a moment ago at 241, now 378. The key, though, our next graphic there, the blocks. Florida's been strong with 6 thus far. Kentucky only with 2. And Kentucky really hitting it strongly on their attacks. Martin. Delay able to keep it in play. Lamb up to the net, jousted down the line, and Martin able to pick off the point along with Gabrielle Essex. Nice teamwork there for Florida on the block once again.
Yeah, the ball is tight. Kentucky this year has been focusing on getting out-of-system balls a little closer to the net, a more international feel, but against a Florida team with this big of a block, I don't know how well that's going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it certainly a lot today. It's another error here for Florida. This time it's Martin into the net. They have so much size in that front row. I mean, you look, going down the line, you got Essex, she's at 6'3". Kennedy Martin, she's 6'6". You even see Okamore, she's at 6'4". Those are the main 3 stays. Then, oh yeah, how about Amaya Thomas off the bench at 6'3", along with Anna Dixon at 6'3". So there's no small players.
No,
there's nobody below 6'3" in that line. As out of bounds it goes, and point to Florida. A little sloppy play here to open up set 2 for both these teams. Singer will take a seat. Get her stay on service, and it's going to be Sophia Victoria. We talked about her a little bit earlier. She had a really nice first set, 4 kills on 9 attacks, 2 blocks to go with it, and she's somebody, you talk about incredible play that she's able to have in her game. Certainly the family connections, her sister Pilar on the Hungarian national team. A nice strike there from Erin Lamb on the left side. Trying to find some rhythm here in the second set. Looks like both teams are a little out of sync right now, Leah.
Yeah, just kind of trading errors back and forth, and it's not like they're like good, like hard swings deep. It serves into the net, just not getting balls up in defense. Not the play I think that either coach wants their team to be playing right now.
Right on cue. So that is 3 service errors for Kentucky in the first 6 Florida points. And it's going to be, I believe, 2 service errors for Florida in the first 4 Kentucky points, excuse me, so, or 5. So right now both teams are pretty much scoring for the other.
Yeah, I mean, serving's that one thing in volleyball that you personally can control, so definitely have to focus in on that one.
Up the net. Teeler trying to change the tide, gets it back to Lamb on the overpass. Martin, no, excuse me, that wasn't Martin, that was Fitzpatrick. There's Rutherford, rolls it across. Great effort from Florida, keep that one in play. Emily Cananan on the recovery, but it finds its way over to Emily Lamb for the finish. And she continues just to chop away, not always with the rocket shots or coming through with a strong strike, but she can play off touch, she can play to keep the ball low in the middle. She's just got great directional play on her ball.
Yeah, doing a really great job of hitting the edges of the block, not trying to power through, which sometimes is a mentality of someone that has such a heavy arm. It's just, I'm just going to try to push the ball as much as I can through the block, but definitely using those edges a little bit better.
Okamore on the slide there for the Gators, finds her score. Had a couple rough moments there in that first set, but not when it came to blocks. She led the way with 4 for Florida. Not only great size, but incredible agility going from side to side. Muff on service for Florida. Rutherford right back to it. Right side, left hand. Seen it a few times today.
Yeah, and it looks like Florida's block, their left side pin is a little too wide on her shoulder. I could see her from our angle coming through the court, so definitely probably need to move that block in and get more in front of her left shoulder if they want to take away that seam that she's hitting almost every time.
This might be a good opportunity here for Kentucky with Bevan on service. Long and out, and point to Kentucky. This is certainly, with the struggles the Cats have had on service, to have Eleanor Bevan back there. If you're Coach Skinner, it makes you a little bit more at ease.
Yeah, she has a really good control over the ball, able to yo-yo, what we call it is be able to go short and deep on the serve, which, as we see right now, going short.
Tuso kept it in. What a drop. I don't know where the defense was there in the back row, but DeLea just, I mean, that was easy for her. I don't know. That was a clear miscommunication, and DeLea able to take care of it for an easy score. As you look again at Eleanor Bevan and the work she's been able to pull off. 2021 Libero of the Year. Obviously another great season she's putting out today. As nice split ball there for Fitzpatrick, going through the double team for Florida, but that was a weird point there. I don't know what happened in the back row.
The ref is blocking where middle back is, so I'm unsure where they were at. Maybe I think they might have been shifting a little bit to left back, but I mean, good placement by Brooklyn DeLea, but very, very odd play.
I bet the easiest point she's going to find in a Kentucky uniform, especially SEC play. DeLea plays it up forward. Rutherford on the swing. Too much pop under that ball from Sophia Victoria, and she's starting to cool off a little bit here early on in set 2. Kentucky now back ahead 10-7. I think Mary Wise is just about one more point away from pulling out the timeout. I saw her jump up there a second ago and take the seat back down. She's giving her team a little bit more leeway, but once you get that 4 or 5 point advantage, Kentucky usually puts you in a stranglehold. That's one thing Craig Skinner is tremendous at, picking a lead and holding on to it. As an ace will add to the party for the Cats on Senior Day. There's Whitworth on the drop.
She gets an ace almost every single game. One of the hardest serves I've ever seen. Been in practice with them before, and she has aced me multiple times, so it is a fantastic serve.
I know professionally you're still playing, but do you still get to come back and practice with them at all?
Occasionally, I do. Yep.
Is it fun to come back and practice, or?
Yeah.
It depends on the day?
It depends on the day. You know, if I come in there and not have a great practice and they're blocking me like no other, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I won't come back another day.
Well, I think this is a good point to bring this up because, you know, Leah Edmond alongside me. I'm Clay Abels here on Senior Day, Kentucky versus Florida. Kentucky looking to close out and try to get a 7th SEC championship outright. And, you know, we mentioned a couple times today when we were talking to Coach Skinner earlier this week, I tried. And, I mean, I really did try. As you see, the overpass there through the middle. Getzinger punches it out, and it'll be point Florida. I really tried, Leah, to get Craig Skinner to say anything about you. Embarrassing, practice. And he goes, no, he goes, I can't give anything up. He goes, she's got too much on me. And he goes, I'm not getting back and forth in that battle. He goes, I'm just glad to see she's still broadcasting with us.
That's a valid reason.
He was like, he really wouldn't say anything. He's like, yeah, she keeps getting better as a player. I'm like, you really don't have any dirt? And he goes, I do, but he goes, I'm just not giving it to anybody.
He's got some stories for sure.
Grome, up front, nice flip across. Incredible save, too, there. McKissick able to keep it up. Best rally we've seen in some time here. Delay. Nice little drop off there from Martin. Still up in play. Delay on the tip. And it's a defensive struggle here on this point. Sliding by. Was it touched? No. And I think Mary Wise wants to have a talk about that.
Definitely.
She points directly. And she
threw the card.
She flung the card. And here comes the call. Point Kentucky.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, she's still not happy about it. Maybe it was intentional. I don't know. That'll be a post-game question.
Yeah, that's a hard replay because depending on the angle, you could say that maybe it touched a fingernail, but it wasn't definite, and you don't really take that chance.
And it's one of those things, too, that you get into that as a referee, it's such a tough spot because maybe on the court you should have called with a touch, but you have to go with the call on the floor. As that one's ricocheted out of bounds, point for Florida, but a tough break against the Gators. They do score coming back, though, out of the play.
Smart shot, I think, for Florida right now. You're kind of competing with kills against Kentucky. Kentucky has 25, Florida only has 15, so definitely need to get more offensive power if they want to compete in this game right now.
Delay drills it in the net. Down the line to Lamb, lefty. Rome gives it right back to her. This time takes it off speed. And impressive effort by Kennedy Muff. She really dived all out on that play, even going around the stanchion, but point will go to Kentucky, and that's one of the reasons you see Kennedy Muff, a four-year captain, such a strong leader for this Florida squad. She's one of the finest in the SEC.
Yeah, great effort, but college game does have a pursuit rule, so you can't pursue the ball past the net to the other side of the court. You have to keep 1 foot on your side of the court at least.
That one comes over our way. Getsinger upset she couldn't get to that one. Point to the Gators on the swing.
Really smart shot. Like I said again, you need to go high corners, and it looks like when Elise Getsinger is back, that Florida is kind of putting pressure on her to play defense, and they've been scoring out of those rotations quite well.
I saw her get right in front of her face, and you see her grit her teeth like, should have been one more step inside right. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Bevan keeps it off the floor. Lamb getting a lot of touches here early on in set 2. Net violation against the Cats, and now Florida fighting their way back into this one in set 2.
Yeah, and if they want to keep themselves in the game, they're definitely going to put more serving pressure on Kentucky. They're doing a really great job of blocking when Kentucky's out of system, so if they want those opportunities more, they're definitely going to put more pressure on them from the serving line.
And now the error comes back to hurt Florida, and that's Sophia Victoria, who, as I said, had such a strong first set, but a little bit off the mark in set number 2. So Kentucky holds on to the advantage, 14-12. Rome to serve. When we talk about libero U and the defensive side of things for Kentucky, we could spend a lot of time on Eleanor Bevan and certainly Emma Grome, although right there, caught flat-footed, couldn't get underneath that ball, and able to collect the score for the Gators is Gabby Essex.
Yeah, great run on the slide, had one-on-one block, had majority of cross-court available for her, but really smart decision by Florida.
Gators back on service. Emily Canaan. Way too much air under that ball, and that will go to point 15 and top 50. Outside of Georgia, which, Georgia, again, they're in a real rebuilding stage this season, but the impressive part to me, Lee, is everybody nearly inside that top 25 of the RPI.
I mean, you got about 7 teams that can potentially make the NCAA tournament, which has become the norm for the SEC. So you've really seen it grown as a volleyball conference. Definitely mostly gets overshadowed by football, but they've been getting a lot of teams in the tournament the recent couple of years, which is really good for them.
As we come out of the timeout here, Florida trying to return the favor against Kentucky. The Cats holding on to lead for the majority of this set. Outside of the first 4-2 lead, it's been mostly Kentucky on top. Delay tries to swing it across, denied, and a nicely placed rejection on the return there from Okamore. But I was going to say, but before we were talking about football and other things today, we mentioned it before the broadcast, great crowd out here today at Rupp Arena, especially when you have the big rivalry game up by 64 today, so many people at that game from both sides. Really impressive to see the crowd showing out strong on senior day.
Yeah, really, really nice big crowd. You can definitely hear them. But yeah, really, really nice crowd here. It's good to see how much volleyball is getting big crowds in almost every school. I mean, I think Auburn last night set a school record again for attendance in volleyball. So it's a really exciting time for the sport to see so many people coming out and wanting to support.
Everything's been so positive this year. You know, you look across from Western to Louisville to Purdue, everybody's setting attendance records, Kentucky, all the way through. The problem that everybody's got is, I think it's going to be very difficult to beat that 90,000 in Nebraska.
Yeah.
They kind of set the standard. She was a part of this group here, 4 SEC championships, came in right after you guys, and the group that you had there that went on to start the SEC championship run. And I think there's a lot of responsibility, Lee. I'm sure you know this feeling from being a player. You want to hold up the success that the previous group did, especially, when your all's group came through, you, Madison, Lily, Allie Stumler. I mean, there's just a lot of pressure, and so far, you got to give these women credit. I mean, they've certainly 4 SEC championships. You can't ask for much more. And that time, it's off the right hand for Rutherford. We always note the left hand, her special ability to pull the defense, but that time, going with the offhand for the score.
Smart shot by her. Ball is a little close to the net. You see her just try to find a way to get through the block and got off the hands of Florida and she dropped. Those are the ones that you hate because you have good hands, but just somehow found a way to get through.
Nicely placed from Martin as she's able to skip it in there for the score. When they watch the tape post-game and they're going to get ready for Selection Sunday, Coach Mary Wise from Florida is like, I want to know the stats on the amount of times Reagan Rutherford's used her right hand, because that's one they certainly, I'm sure, didn't spend a lot of time preparing for. Trying to stop the cross shot, power down the middle. Like, you didn't expect the right hand to come out today, but whatever it takes to get a point, they will use it. Nicely done there by Bevan, able to slide up and made a really impressive move there, because if she dives out for it, she's going to have to hit it, but was able to pull her right knee back and evade the ball.
Yeah, that was very, very close.
She had one of the more impressive state championship games going back a few years ago. I believe it was 2018, Mercy versus Notre Dame. And you talk about just an incredible performance she put on. She's going to be one of those legends of the state. Obviously, the work she's done in Kentucky has been tremendous, but as a high school player, 4 straight state title appearances. And we get a second look here at the score from Florida. And starting to come on strong here. Okamore here, that's her 3rd kill, 2nd in the set. Florida still hanging around, down 19-16. That ball blaze past Whitworth, and Kennedy Martin once again starting to make her name here in the 2nd set. She had 7 kills in the first. This is only her 2nd in set number 2. Florida spreading the wealth a little bit more. Getzinger on the slide, that time trying to go through the center. And that was an unusual shot for Kennedy Martin.
I like the idea. I can see where she was going. That deep corner has been open, and she probably didn't think she had the approach to swing, but it's a little too deep. She's done a really good job of hitting those deep corners. That's where she's scoring a lot, so definitely have to go back to that, but she's not getting the most perfect opportunities to do that.
From your experience as a player, especially when you're a freshman, as you see an error there for delaying the net, how much of your freshman year when you're an attacker, are you just trying things out? I know we're at the end of the season here, but she's always going to try a couple different things to see if she can get away.
I don't think it was the opposite.
Really?
In my freshman year, I definitely don't think I
Didn't want
pushed
to
the
try
envelope.
anything.
I didn't want to try anything too crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to keep the ball in, get a couple kills. I mean, I definitely was on the more side of I'm going to go up and take a really big swing off a ball that was set me from 20 feet, which is probably frowned upon, but at the time in a hotel, and a lot of time traveling and sitting in an airplane, so to be able to get that many wins out in that time says a lot about the focus.
And that is the last thing you need out of the timeout for Florida. Kennedy Martin, too much pop under that ball, and that is yet again another service error for Florida. I mean, when they look back on this game, depending how it falls on the win-loss column, certainly one thing, no matter how the score turns out, they're going to have to focus on service errors. Blocked ball, rejected but scored for Florida. Able to cash in, and once again, another hot set here for Gabby Essex. That's her second kill in this set. She's also got 2 blocks and 2 digs to go alongside it on the day. Sophia Victoria back to serve. She has struggled a little bit in the second set as well on service. 1 error. This time make sure to leave it long. First time she was short. There's Lamb. Nicely placed in the back right corner.
That's that sharp angle we're talking about. She's done a really good job at this game is moving the ball around the block, either using that right side's hands to go out or kind of cutting it inside the middle's hands. So Florida's middles need to drop their left hand a little bit to take away that sharp cross away from her.
Here's Grome on service. Kentucky up 2 here late in set 2. Martin, and a second error for her late in the set. Moments ago was on service, that time on the attack, and now Kentucky with a 3-point advantage and a Florida attack because they know they've got great defense behind them. And I know we mentioned that from the start. They've got such strong back row presence from Bevan and Grome and Tuso and Whitworth. I mean, they just all the way around, they know they've got support behind them. Florida trying to respond here. Martin just tags it across. It's a little out of rhythm here at the moment. Rutherford, the teardrop set up. Essex denied. The runner from Fitzpatrick. Kentucky has a chance to set up the left side to Lamb. Back at the net, jousting. Advantage to Florida, but kept in by Kentucky. Martin on the dig. At the net, I think they were looking for it, and they find it. Kentucky gets to set point.
Fans, get on your feet. It's
And the crowd rises here at Rupp Arena as Kentucky looks to advance with a 2-0 lead. Grome on service. A float over, slide right side, denied, and Taylor gets caught up in it and punches the ball away in anger.
I'm really liking that run by Florida to get that slide really involved. I think it's going to be a difference maker for their pins to get a little bit more one-on-one opportunities or bigger seams if they get those middles involved pulling the block.
Gabby Essex again on the score, able to find another kill in this set. Florida back on service. Cannon, excuse me, on service, gets it across for Florida. That's when they're a difficult situation they've had and struggle in the second set has been service. Lamb at Martin, back into the net, and Muff is not able to recover. Aaron Lamb hammering it for the 5th. It went to 4 in Gainesville. There's your early stats, and you know the 2 things that pop out to you there: the blocks for Florida at 9-2, and the hitting percentage. Kentucky hitting .243 versus .179 for Florida. And that is how you open up a set 3 if you're Brooklyn DeLay.
Those are the favorite ones. I'm telling you, like those ones as a hitter, you just see them coming and you're like, oh boy. But then sometimes you get too excited.
Yeah, you can overdo it.
And then you overdo it. So it's a lot of control and excitement.
That was about as easy of a point she's going to score in that set. And how about rejection the other way? Reagan Rutherford right behind Aaron Lamb and kills. Throw in a block and a dig, and now 9 scores on the day for Reagan Rutherford, and a quick 2-0 start for the Cats in frame 3. Ricochets off the net. Florida trying to recover. Muff pounces it away, and now Kentucky is like a different team here in the third set. Looks like maybe Coach Skinner emphasized the third set in his pregame conversations, like, hey, let's not let this thing go any longer than we have to. As you see what's at stake today, Florida trying to get their first win here in Lexington since 2017. And for the Cats, it's all about the SEC Championship. They have clinched a share as Kennedy Martin just puts back-to-back slingshots into the back row for a score. But for Kentucky, it's all about the SEC Championship. They've already got a share. If they win, they've got it outright. If they lose, Tennessee could tie if they beat South Carolina, although they were down 1-0 last time we checked in set 2. If Tennessee loses, Kentucky gets it outright. So, as any coach would say, just win the game and don't worry about it. There's too many different scenarios to go through.
Definitely. When you're in control, you want to stay in control.
A couple missed bounces there for the Gators, and over the top of the head for Muff. Score for Rutherford. We were talking to our great Chris Scholes earlier this week. He had all the different scenarios worked out. Coach Skinner was like, I'm glad I get to coach and he has to deal with that. This is way more complicated because, you know, earlier in the week before the Arkansas game, it was like, wait a minute, you know, X plus Y equals Z. I mean, you know, it's like an algebra formula you're trying to put together. Almost keeps it up there from Grom, trying to get the pancake right hand underneath, but cannot score the other way. Okamore on the finish for the Gators.
Really liking the choice of Florida getting their middles involved. I think it's going to be really necessary during that third set to have more of a balanced offense. Yes, Kennedy Martin is leading you in kills, and you love that, but you want to give her even easier kills by opening up that block.
Bevan gives it to Grom in the front row. Rutherford, 1-2-3, easy score for the Cats. That was tailor-made.
She's just really having her way today, especially with that block. I mean, that was outside the block, so they moved the block in. Like I said they should, and then, I mean, she hit it down the line, but she's just such an experienced hitter. That's kind of a hard one. Got to find the happy medium in between the two.
Right now, 5-2, Kentucky on top, opened up with a quick 3-0 advantage. And holding on to a 3-point lead until that play, and this time it's Gabby Essex who's starting to find some nice points in sets 2 and 3. She's making a big impact through the center.
Yeah, definitely like the choice of getting the middles involved, and you have one up, so sometimes you don't even have to hit the ball hard. Just try to get the ball to the floor as quick as possible, and it's working really well for Florida right now.
Martin, another service error. That's one thing she's going to have to work on in her game. A couple service errors today. Hitting-wise, with the net and outside the pin, she's been phenomenal, but has struggled a little bit from the service line. Yeah,
and you can definitely tell that Florida is trying to put pressure on Kentucky. They're just missing a little bit too much. So you've got to find your way of putting pressure on them, not giving them too easy of service, but also keeping the ball in so you get a chance.
Well, you end up putting pressure on yourself because you miss.
Yeah.
you dig the hole deeper when you try to make something happen that's not there. Here's Grom, up high to Lamb. She's able to sky it down. Martin, she's got that down okay. Anything on the right side, she's going to scoop up and score.
Really, really great shot. Ball. She had two blockers in front of her and took that ball outside the middle blocker's right hand. And really sharp angle as well. That's a very small area of court that she hit.
Florida to stay, or to go back on service. McKissick, who we've not mentioned too much tonight, but really great defensive player for this Florida squad. Comes in, makes some incredible digs along with Muff. Really the backbone of that defense. And once again, it's going to be Essex finding an opportunity for the Gators. And as you know this from being a player, sometimes they focus in too much on the star attacker. They let somebody else, like Essex, find some open lanes for opportunities.
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of making sure you don't let Kennedy Martin have a 27-kill game again, but also controlling everybody else, because just because she's not going off doesn't mean somebody else can't.
Delay, nicely placed. I know we've been giving a lot of love today to Kenny Martin, and deservedly so, but I'll tell you what, if you're Craig Skinner, you got to feel really happy that you got Brooklyn Delay for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and she's doing a really great job of just being smart, hitting-wise, hitting where Florida's giving her, not doing too much of trying to avoid a big block, because sometimes that gets in your head a little bit of, you know how big a block is, and if they block you a couple times, it starts to kind of get to you mentally.
Essex again, this time on the slide to the right. This is all her in the third set. She is on a roll. And she's going to step out of the game for the moment. That's probably the only thing Coach Wise doesn't like, is she's going to the sidelines.
Yeah, and the difference of this game for sure is Florida's passing so much better than they did the first two sets, so the middles are an option. Before, they really weren't getting enough passes that you would be able to put the middle in a good situation and going straight out to the outside.
Grom backside to Teeler. Teeler just 3 kills on the day. Had some nice defensive moments for the Cats. That one a tad outside on the swing and point to the Cats. And it just seems like, Leah, every time Florida gets within a point, Kentucky finds a way to stretch it to 2 to 3. They just can't get past that hill of getting over top with the lead.
Yeah, it's definitely, they've got to put the ball on Kentucky's side of the court more. They're making a little bit too many errors.
Grom pops it into the net. Usually she is rock solid on service. A rare error there for her. Now Muff will go back to serve. And this is right now a crucial part in this match if you're Florida. It seems like right now they need to find a way to get somewhat of a lead, whether it's just even a point or two, just to put some pressure on Kentucky. Rutherford there on the swing, back to net. She goes over the top, but point will go to the Cats. And I think they were looking to see if she went across the line. I know Florida and Kennedy Martin was trying to make that case. Point will stay with the Cats. Mary Wise takes a seat there. Victoria double team block, Teeler and Rutherford.
That was a big one. That's one of those that I was kind of sitting there like, oh, man. But definitely great read by Shawnee Teeler to see that that ball was going to the outside. And like I said, they were hip to hip, elbow to elbow, and both of them, I mean, are armpits over the net, that's really hard to hit against.
3 kills only for on the day, but as we said, defensively making an impact. That's her 4th block here on senior day in just 2.5 sets. Rutherford back to it again. Rutherford Teeler stealing the show on senior night here in set 3, and Kentucky with their largest lead in the set of 11-7. As we look here at the blocks, Teeler, she's got a little way to go before she gets to Kaz Brown, but she's in line there for 2nd place. It is somewhat doable if you add in the tournament numbers. But
she's in good company, though.
yes, very good company. And they're going to say no touch on that. Point to Kentucky. And Mary Wise has seen enough. She will burn a timeout as Florida looking a lot out of sorts. Her coach is another 13 years, which I'm sure he's up to. He can be right there. But no, seriously, 7 straight. I mean, that's, Leah, certainly you've been we're at the start of that there with the first 2. I mean, that's just incredible to have that type of run that they've had, especially in this great of a conference.
Yeah, and especially with how good the SEC is continually getting every single year. To do 7 straight, that says a lot about what Kentucky's doing right now. To be able to focus in and do something like that multiple years in a row says a lot about something, because it's almost 2 classes worth of people that have been a part of that.
Well, I think what we said earlier is a part of it. There's a pressure, and it's a good pressure, as you would say, as that time Teeler did go over the top, point Florida to break off the run. A 5-0 run Kentucky had there. I think there is a pressure for these players and a responsibility, a good pressure that, hey, we need to win the SEC championship to keep this run going. You don't want to be the team that lets everybody down, because then you're known as, oh, where was that stop in 2020 whatever? You don't want to be that team.
That broke the streak.
Yeah, you don't want to be that one. Delay on the score, or it looked like it was going to be a score. She got the slap across. Nice recovery there. Kept in play by Victoria. Rutherford back through it, splits it between Muff and Victoria for the score, and Rutherford just having another whale of a game. That's her 13th kill.
Yeah, she was just finding her way around that Florida block. I mean, beat the middle, was late to getting over to that close, so was able to beat the middle with her arm. I mean, she's doing a great job of keeping balls deep. You don't see her bouncing too many balls, but at her level, at her age, you definitely don't see that as much, being really smart, hitting deep shots.
Bevan tries to go underneath but cannot recover. Score there, back the other way for Okamore. And when you look at this Florida roster, you know, certainly they have some experience here, but you look, Kennedy Martin just in her freshman season, you've got a lot of young talent that's coming up through the ranks for Florida. Again, you know, it's always Kentucky and Florida, you feel like, at the top of the SEC every year, and I think Kentucky's going to be there for a long time, certainly, but do not count out Florida. I know Tennessee's got the 2 spot this year, but with Kenny Martin and some of this talent they've got coming in, they're going to be around for a while at the top of the SEC.
You definitely have to remember that this is a different Florida team than we saw in the non-conference. They had 3 different influential players go down with injuries this year, so definitely a lot different than what they pictured the season was going to be. So,
yeah, the injuries are certainly something we talk to every coach. Can directly change your entire season, especially as we mentioned, you've got 3 key players that look to be contributors, and they've still, I think, impressively stayed inside the top 20 throughout this season. As you see, certainly Alexis Stuckey, they thought she'd be a major impact coming in as the freshman of the year, bringing her back with Anna Dixon. You know, even Hudson got to play in game 1. She comes out with 14 kills, and they just haven't had that consistency of staying healthy as Martin rolls it into the net. You get those players back next year, another year of Kennedy Martin, they're going to be a force.
Yeah, that's definitely a completely different team. I mean, they were rolling top 10 to start out the majority of the non-conference, so definitely hurt them. They didn't do a bad job of continuing on without them. Definitely got some key wins, some still big wins without them, but definitely changed the landscape of the season.
Delay. Out of play, point back to Florida. And the one thing you look at here as we get into this 3rd set, Kentucky with the 5-point advantage. They had a nice 5-0 run that helped extend this lead a few points ago. The one thing, Leah, you don't even want to bring it up if you're a Kentucky person, but the errors. That's the one thing you have to watch out for. Kentucky, you need to stay on top here in set 3. And if you're Florida, you need to look for that opportunity to get yourself back in this match.
Yeah, they still have 3 hitting errors in this set. 3 serving errors in this set alone, so they definitely got to give themselves a chance.
Martin over top the double team. Lamb went down and a little bit shaken up getting back. She says she's fine. It looked like I don't know if somebody stepped on her foot or she tripped, but she kind of went lame there midway through the point at the net. I think from thankfully didn't get hit with the ball or anything. She's in a bad spot. Let's look right here through the middle. She jumps. Oh, she's landed awkwardly in that left ankle. That's what it was. Might have been a tweak. Well, they're going to bring it right back to her. Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah,
that's my diagnosis for the day.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's been leaving her the line all day, and she's been hitting it really well. So I think they might need to adjust a little bit, kind of give her only a slither of line, force her to maybe hit the antenna more, or force her toward the libero, something different, because she's capitalizing on leaving that line.
It's like when you play one-on-one, you know, with your dad. It's like, oh, I'm not feeling good. I got a bad back, and then suddenly it goes right around. You're like, wait a minute, I thought you were hurt. It comes right back up, and you know, Lamb just lays it off to the left for a score. Air there for Kentucky, point to Florida.
A lot of serving errors in this game. That's 17 combined, and Florida right now has 0 aces, and Kentucky only has 3. So definitely not the average, the ratio that you want serving-wise for either team.
Victoria going at the double team block. Rome up top. Taylor with a bullet ball.
That's that range we talked about with the Johnny Taylor. She came in as an outside her freshman year, and so was able to still hit middle balls and outside, which makes it just so much harder to defend her.
And Florida will burn a second timeout here. That could be potentially their last of the match.
Kentucky out, like there's just so many different variables to RPI, so every set, every point matters. And for Florida right now, getting every point and even trying to get this set on Kentucky can help their RPI immensely.
That's the story of the third set right there. Besides the errors, it's the hitting percentage. Kentucky has been rolling through, hitting 350, where Florida sitting at that 158 mark, and this goes back to everything we've nailed home today. This is a Kentucky team that is once again hot at the end of the season going in to the NCAA tournament. Go figure. They've had a few years of that here, and it's right on cue for Coach Craig Skinner to make another deep run here, potentially in the NCAA tournament. They got to close out business first today, trying to get the outright share of the SEC title. If they win today, that is what they'll do. Delay, keeps it across. Muff, up top, Martin. And so much power she brings. And it's almost funny to watch her jump, not because she's obviously superior athletic, but she's so tall as it is. It's almost like another advantage you can just add, like, oh, now she can see over top of everybody even more.
Because like she's already up there, and then when she jumps, she's like even more up there. She probably sees the court very well.
It's like a helicopter approach. You're just like seeing everything
You see
below
everything.
you.
Oh yeah.
At that 30,000-foot view. As Martin again. We see after the play, Canan jumping into Kennedy Martin. Like, man, it was really good to have you on our team.
Yeah, really solid hands pressed over. I mean, that's what I said. Volleyball is a game of momentum. It went from a 5-point to a 3-point lead, and you can tell Florida's getting a little bit more energy. And
back to 2. 3-0 run out of the timeout, and Florida finds themselves right back in this game. And Craig Skinner has seen enough. He'll burn a timeout.
Timeout, Kentucky.
He already clinched it as well, so it's funny to watch if you're here in the arena, folks. You've got like half the people looking up and half looking down at the same time, and one of them is Leah Edmond. Every time I look over to Leah, she's like, what's the score? Like, yeah, I'm in the same way with you, because when Leah talks, I'm looking up too. A lot going on today. Rivalries across the country, and none better here than Kentucky versus Florida volleyball, going strong in set 3. Rome to Lamb. Victoria. Denied. Okamore puts it back within 1, and Florida, even coming out of the timeout, hanging in there strong as we get a second look at the denial.
great read. She stayed solid. I mean, Kentucky had 3 hitters coming across, so it's a straight read, but really, really great decision blocking-wise to jump with the middle. I told you, game of momentum. Florida's gotten themselves back into this one.
Bevan up to the front line. There's Rutherford. Now that is a well-played shot.
Deep corner between 1-6. Such a hard ball to defend to hit those corners. You're in between 2 blockers, and like you saw over there, they both looked at each other because they didn't know whose ball it was, but I think they also might have thought it was out. Heard them yell a little bit over here.
Everybody's looking over like, you got that? No, you got that? Yeah. Tuso back to serve for Kentucky. 6 digs for her, and a service ace on the day. Martin. She is not going away anytime soon. Make that kill number 13. She was a little bit neutralized in that second set, but she has really found her rhythm back here in set 3.
Not shocked that they're starting to go to her in this crunch time. making really, really great decisions to hit it off the block, not trying to power through. And I mean, she's big enough to hit over them. So just staying smart through these next couple of points is going to be big for them right now.
Florida back within 1. Sophia Victoria on service. We're about tripped up over her own feet there. Delay denied. Rome, back pass. Rutherford, the tip and the finish.
She's doing a great job of switching up her depth. She's hit the majority of the balls, thrown in a tip a couple of times. I think that ball went through the middle's hands, so that was a solid block. I think they knew where that ball was going, but went through the middle's hands. And those are the ones you hate because you're like, I have a ball, I have the greatest block in front of me, and then I somehow find a way to get right over my head.
Bevan now on service back for the Cats. Florida looking to respond. Here's Martin again. You know where it's going. You know what she's going to do. But a lot of times you just can't stop it.
I mean, such a smart hitter. I mean, she's not even trying to hit past the block. She's going off of hands. She's seeing 4 hands in front of her and using the best offensive weapon you possibly can. It is hands because you saw how that ball went flying out. You can't really defend those.
Florida still knocking on the door. Down 1. They have not had the lead. They have not been in a tie. Delay. What a drop off. Muff almost kept it up. But Delay at the right place at the right time with the floater to the deck.
Really smart shot. I mean, she had a split in the block and really nice high arm with the tip. Looked like she could swing or tip, and that's the best way to disguise those ones.
Start to see how service adds up here late in this game. And on cue, it works out pretty well for Kentucky. Whitworth on the ace, making her second of the day, and it couldn't have come at a more keen time.
Williams got 22.
Another nice serve. This one back through the middle. Well placed and finished. And there's Essex, who has had some strong moments in sets 2 and especially here in set 3, brings it back within 2.
I like that shot choice. You got everybody kind of back on a perimeter and hit to that donut, which you haven't said very often today. Usually that's a shot people go to, but that donut that's in between 4 different defenders and you really never know whose ball it is.
Gets Singer, but she went. Did she go to the net? No, they're going to say violation on Florida.
Florida was in the net.
Florida was in the net. I was looking for Getzinger there. She was coming in pretty high.
Yeah, she was very close on that one.
And point stays to Kentucky. And that's a huge flip of score there. But now it's Kentucky up 3 instead of being back within 1. That gives them a little bit of breathing room here late and 1 point away from match point. You've got one of your strong servers on the line in Delay. She puts it right down Broadway. Essex off speed. Rome. Back up, Lamb puts it down, impressively recovered by Fitzpatrick, digging it off the floor. Delay with a dig of her own, gets Singer off the slide right. Fitzpatrick pounces on that ball. Still in play though, Lamb at the net, Muff, the tip. And swung home by Delay. And when we talk about momentum, that is a momentum shifter.
Yeah, really, really great decision in transition offense to get that back row involved. You only have 1 blocker up and hit almost every shot in court.
Match point, Kentucky. A chance to sweep Florida and clinch an outright 7th SEC championship in a row. Muff gets it up to Martin. Off speed, Bevan keeps it up. Essex and Grown. Grown will take it home, and Kentucky with the sweep on senior night to make it 7 straight SEC titles.
अर्जी को के बर्बाद अब गईनी हम हार असरी बद देवे चल के बाद